I remember the exact moment everything changed, not because it was dramatic or loud, but because it was quiet in a way that made my heart feel too big for my chest. I thought I was too young for her. That thought had lived in my mind for months, stubborn and unshakable, like a locked door I didn't have the courage to open. And yet, there I was, standing in the golden haze of a late afternoon, staring at her as she tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, smiling like she didn't carry the weight of the world on her shoulders. But she did, and somehow, I wanted to carry it with her. I first met Sarah on a rainy Thursday evening. I was 24, fresh out of university, juggling 2 jobs and a head full of unfinished dreams. Life felt like a race I had just started, and I was already out of breath. That day, I had taken shelter in a small bookstore cafe to escape the downpour, dripping wet and irritated at everything, my boss, my bank balance, and honestly, my own lack of direction. She was sitting by the window. I didn't notice her at first. I was too busy shaking water off my jacket and ordering the cheapest coffee on the menu. But then I heard her laugh. It wasn't loud, it wasn't forced, it was real, the kind of laugh that makes you turn your head without realizing why. She was reading a book, her fingers gently holding the page as if it were something fragile. Her hair was slightly messy, tied in a loose bun that looked like it had given up halfway through the day. She wore a simple cream sweater and jeans, nothing extraordinary, but there was something about her presence that felt steady. Grounded. I don't know why, but I kept glancing at her. And then she caught me. Instead of looking away awkwardly, she smiled. Not the polite kind, not the, "I caught you staring," kind. A warm, knowing smile. I panicked and immediately looked down at my coffee like it suddenly contained all the answers to life. A few minutes later, she walked up to my table. "Is this seat taken?" she asked. Her voice was calm, gentle, but there was a quiet confidence in it. "No, go ahead," I stammered. She sat down across from me like it was the most natural thing in the world. "I saw you trying not to stare," she said, her eyes playful. I nearly choked on my coffee. "I wasn't, I mean." She laughed again. "Relax, I'm not offended." There was something disarming about her. I didn't feel judged. I didn't feel like I had to impress her. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I could just exist. "I'm Sarah," she said, extending her hand. "Allie," I replied, shaking it. Her hand was warm. We talked. At first, it was small things, books, the weather, how terrible the coffee was. But somehow, the conversation kept deepening, like we were both slowly peeling back layers without even realizing it. She told me she worked as a school counselor. That she loved helping kids who felt lost. That she believed everyone deserved someone who would listen without trying to fix them. I told her about my confusion, my failed attempts at figuring life out, and how I constantly felt like I was falling behind. She didn't interrupt, she didn't give advice, she just listened, and that meant everything. It wasn't until our third meeting that I realized she was older than me. Much older. We were walking through a quiet park, the sun dipping low, painting everything in shades of orange and gold. "You're very young, Allie," she said suddenly. I laughed. "Thanks, I think." She smiled softly. "I mean it in a good way." "How old do you think I am?" I asked. 23, 24, 24. She nodded, then looked ahead, her expression shifting slightly. "I'm 36. I stopped walking. The number hit me harder than I expected. 36. 12 years. I didn't know why it mattered so much in that moment, but it did. "Oh," I said, trying to sound casual. She noticed the hesitation. "You didn't know," she said gently. "No, I didn't think that I'd be this old," she finished, a faint smile on her lips. "That's not what I meant," I quickly said. But it kind of was. And we both knew it. After that day, something changed. Not in her, but in me. I started noticing the difference everywhere. The way she spoke with a quiet certainty while I second-guessed everything. The way she had already lived through things I was just beginning to understand. The way she carried herself, with a calm strength that made me feel unfinished. I began to pull back. Not completely, but enough. I'd reply to her messages a little later than usual. I'd make excuses to cancel plans. I told myself it was the right thing to do. She deserves someone her age, I thought. Someone stable, someone who has their life together. Not someone like me, still trying to figure out who I even was. But the truth, I missed her, every single day. One evening, she showed up at my apartment. I hadn't told her where I lived, but I had mentioned the building once in passing. When I opened the door, my heart skipped. She looked different, not in appearance, but in expression. Serious. "Are you going to keep avoiding me?" she asked, "or are you going to let me in?" I stepped aside silently. She walked in, looking around briefly before turning to face me. "What's going on, Allie?" "Nothing," I said. "Don't do that," she replied firmly. "Don't pretend." I ran a hand through my hair, frustrated. "It's just, this doesn't make sense." "What doesn't?" "Us." The word hung in the air. She didn't react immediately. Instead, she stepped closer. "Why?" I hesitated, then said it. "Because you're 36, and I'm 24, and you deserve someone who isn't still trying to get his life together." She studied my face carefully. "Is that what you think I deserve?" she asked softly. "Yes, and you think you're not enough." I didn't answer, because that was exactly what I thought. She took another step closer, her voice lowering. "Do you know why I like being around you, Allie?" I shook my head. "Because you're real. You don't pretend to have it all figured out. You feel things deeply. You care. You listen." Her eyes softened. "You make me feel alive in a way I haven't felt in years." I swallowed hard. "That doesn't change the fact that I'm younger." "No," she said, "it doesn't." Silence filled the room. Then she reached out and gently held my hand. Her touch was steady, certain, and then she whispered the words that shattered every wall I had built. "You make me forget my age." Something inside me broke, or maybe, something inside me finally healed. I realized then that I had been looking at our situation through the wrong lens. I had reduced our connection to numbers, to expectations, to what society would think. But she wasn't doing that. She wasn't measuring me against some checklist. She was choosing me, not the version of me I might become someday, but the version standing right in front of her. Imperfect, uncertain, real. "I'm scared," I admitted quietly. "Of what?" "Of not being enough for you." She smiled gently. "You don't have to be enough for my whole life," she said. "Just be present in the moments we share." That hit me harder than anything else she had said. Because I had been so focused on the future, on proving something, that I forgot the value of the present. "I don't want to lose you," I said. "Then don't push me away," she replied. From that day on, things changed. Not magically, not perfectly, but honestly. We faced challenges. People judged us. Friends questioned us. Even my own thoughts tried to sabotage what we had. But we talked through everything, every fear, every doubt, every insecurity, and slowly, I began to understand something important. Love isn't about finding someone who fits perfectly into your life. It's about finding someone who sees you clearly, and chooses you anyway. Sarah didn't need me to be older. She didn't need me to have everything figured out. She just needed me to be me. And for the first time in my life, that felt like enough. Years later, I still think about that moment in my apartment. The way she looked at me. The way her voice softened when she spoke those words. "You make me forget my age." It wasn't just a compliment. It was a truth. Because love, real love, doesn't live in numbers. It lives in connection, in understanding, in the quiet moments where two people choose each other, not because it's easy, but because it feels right. And maybe I was young. Maybe I still had a lot to learn. But loving her, that was the one thing I knew I got right. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Don't let fear decide who you're allowed to love. Don't let numbers, expectations, or other people's opinions convince you that something real isn't worth fighting for. Because sometimes, the person who changes your life won't fit into the story you had planned. And that's exactly why they matter. I thought I was too young for her. But in the end, she taught me that love doesn't ask for perfection. It only asks for courage.